Hey, welcome. We have a prospective student here today, Xander Frank, who will be in the Harvard class of, I don't know, how many years from now?
9.
9 years from now. 9 years from now. Okay. Today we are going to talk about Thomas Jefferson, the Haitian Revolution, and the Louisiana Purchase. And the lecture today begins with a revolution in the history of political thought. And that revolution is Federalist 10, authored by James Madison in 1787. And what Federalist 10 did that no other thinker in the history of political thought had done was to identify democracy with spatial expansion. Okay? Theretofore, before that, in the history of political thought, expansion had been identified with overextension and decline. The idea being that the empires, the great empires in world history, i.e. the Roman Empire and the Greek Empire, as they expanded, their polities grew beyond the capacity of subjects to communicate their needs to leaders. Right? The leaders of the polity of the society became too distant from the people to serve their needs. Madison turned that on its head in Federalist number 10. In Federalist number 10, Madison suggested that it was only in a society, in a polity of a certain size, that those who actually should be the leaders would be recognized enough to rise to the top. Right? That there would not be small factions, only men of real character, of real virtue, and we are only talking about men in this Madisonian vision, would be able to become sufficiently, would be able to attain sufficient notoriety to be elected. So representative government in this vision is essentially expansive. Right? Now, it is Jefferson who becomes the President of the United States in 1800 who takes that revolution in the history of political thought and raises it, introduces it to American statecraft. And Jefferson's vision of the way that this is going to function is as what he calls an empire for liberty. Okay? And the empire for liberty depends upon a particular figure. Somebody who is going to appear throughout this course, a mythical figure that we have right here, the yeoman farmer. Okay, the yeoman farmer. And in Jefferson's vision, the United States will be strongest, will be most able to pursue the course of democracy and liberty if it is populated by an endless series of this guy. The characteristics of this Jeffersonian vision, this yeoman farmer's republic, are: one, that it is household centered; two, that it is agricultural; three, that it is only marginally commercial; and four, that it is white. So Jefferson's vision, this is outlined, all of this is outlined in Jefferson's Notes on the State of Virginia. Okay, Notes on the State of Virginia, which is published in 1781. This is from Jefferson. Those who labor in the earth, okay? Those who labor in the earth are the chosen people of God, in whose breasts he has made his peculiar deposit for substantial and genuine virtue. Okay? That's super evocative language. Let's just put it that way, in deference to our visitor. Those who labor in the earth are the chosen people of God. Okay, first of all, this is a connotatively white statement, right? When he says those who labor in the earth, he's not talking about the over 1 million slaves in the United States at that time. Right? So his vision of history, of virtue, and of agriculture is about white farmers. This is also a gendered statement, right? This is about reproduction. The chosen people of God, whose breasts he has made his peculiar deposit. Right? This is about the way that liberty will be reproduced over time through households. Right? Through families. Now, the reason that Jefferson's vision of the importance of agriculture is, in fact, a global vision. So what Jefferson imagines is that this is going to be Europe, okay? This is going to be the United States of America. This is going to be the East Coast. Okay. What Jefferson imagines is that an economy with 3 sectors. He imagines a manufacturing sector, a mercantile sector, and an agricultural sector. And Jefferson associates manufacturing in particular with dependence and corruption. Okay? So he's been to Europe. He has seen he has seen the class degradation, the vulnerability of the European white working class. And Jefferson's idea is that anyone who has to work for a wage is dependent upon their boss. If you have an employer, you are dependent on that person for your survival. And if you are dependent upon someone else for your survival, how can you say that you are truly free? Right? You will necessarily vote the way that that person tells you to vote because they can fire you. They can cut you off. So Jefferson associates manufacturing, wage work, with political dependence. So his vision is to keep the manufacturing sector located in Europe, to globally divide the economy, to have a mercantile sector, a trading sector along the East Coast that imports whatever manufactured goods are needed, but also forms a buffer between the agricultural heartland of the United States and the degraded manufacturing residual empires of Europe. This is at a time when 90% of those who lived in the United States lived on farms anyway, right? So what I want to start with is to think about Jefferson's vision, this vision of an empire for liberty being global in several senses. It's global because it's expansionist, right? And it's global because it depends upon a global vision of the division of labor. That is never more clear when it is than when it is contrasted to Alexander Hamilton's vision of the global division of labor. Okay, Alexander Hamilton, I do not have an image of him. He's on your $10 bill, right? Hamilton's vision, outlined in the report on manufactures in 1791, is one in which a nation, the United States, should contain all of these different elements. So what Hamilton imagines is this entire political economy, agricultural, mercantile, manufacturing, contained within the boundaries of the United States. Right? So that you would have manufacturing and mercantile sectors and an agricultural sector. Right? So there's two different visions of the relationship of national sovereignty, state sovereignty, and political economy. Right? So that is the agricultural aspect. Household-centered. Jefferson's vision of this empire for liberty is household-centered. He imagines households which can produce most of the things that they need. So he imagines a division of labor that depends upon the employment of subordinates. You guys all know what Jefferson looks like, right? We have a particularly inspiring picture of Thomas Jefferson. He imagines a division of labor which involves the work of all members of a household to produce that household's subsistence. So these yeoman households are supposed to be self-sufficient. Right? That means that at the center of his economic vision is a vision of gender and household relationships. Right? A vision where the yeoman farmer, that other guy, the one with the scythe, decides what his dependents, his wife, his daughters, his sons, should do. Right? So at the heart of Jefferson's vision of the economy, which is a global vision, is a vision of the household. Right? Now those households are supposed to, by and large, be able to provide for themselves. They are supposed to be self-sufficient. So if you live on a farm, Jefferson's theory is you can more or less use the fruit of the earth to provide everything that you need. And for Jefferson, this is a moral vision. It's not a moral vision because it's really, really difficult to do that and there's lots of suffering involved, and who would ever want to produce something that they could buy at the store anyway. It's a moral vision because it keeps people out of debt. Right? If you think about the way that the notion of the wage works for Jefferson, the idea that if you are employed by somebody, then you are politically subordinate to them, the notion of debt works exactly the same way. If you are in debt to someone, they hold economic power over you, which makes you politically dependent upon them. they can compel you to vote the way that they want. The site for Jefferson of this yeoman's republic is the Trans-Appalachian West. So we're talking about a vision that's outlined in 1781 that begins to come to fruition around 1800 or 1803. The Trans-Appalachian West is a place which is, at that time, Native American. So this is an imperial vision in that it imagines the cultivation of white liberty in a place that is already inhabited. Right? It imagines the expansion of the polity of the United States on top of other polities. Now, there is a contrasting vision of spatial expansion that is also present in Jefferson, and that is the vision that if a polity, this is the older vision in some sense, this is the pre-Federalist 10 vision, and this is something that Jefferson worries a lot about, and that we are going to talk about. And this vision is the one that suggests that if white people spread too far across the continent, they will become too distant from the metropolitan centers of the East to be part of the nation. They will fall outside the orbit of United States sovereignty. So this is from Madison. This is Madison expressing this doubt, this sort of counter-argument to Federalist 10. Future societies on the waters of the Mississippi might have to be viewed in the same relation to the Atlantic states as exists between the heterogeneous and hostile societies of Europe. So what's interesting about this is that Madison is articulating a vision where the continent of North America is not imagined as the eventual container of the United States of America. Right? Madison is imagining, in this counter case, a situation in which the Mississippi forms the natural boundary of the United States in the West. So he's imagining the possibility of a continent which has various conflicting, mutually hostile nations. And this is indeed something that Jefferson worries about in relationship to the Trans-Appalachian West, right? He worries that the American, by which he means white, inhabitants of the West, he worries that they might end up, quote, separating from our Confederacy and becoming its enemies. Okay? So there is, at the beginning of the 19th century, a set of pressing questions about the relationship between global economy, territorial expansion, and national sovereignty. Right? These three terms are being imagined in different sorts of relationship to one another. Now, at the beginning of the 19th century, the future of this empire for liberty is entwined with the futures of different empires. Okay? I am going to talk as we go on in the course about Native American polities or even empires, but today I'm going to talk about European empires. I'm going to start by talking about Spain. Okay? Spain at the beginning of the 19th century that is to say up until 1802, is in control of the Louisiana Territory. Okay? So you can see on here that thing that's sort of shaped like a huge version of the state of Georgia. So that right there. That is the Louisiana Territory. And the Louisiana Territory has been under Spanish control from 1763. And as part of the Treaty of San Lorenzo, which is a treaty between the United States and Spain in 1795, the Treaty of San Lorenzo, the United States has gained trading rights at New Orleans. So New Orleans in 1795 is controlled by Spain. But the United States has gained the right to trade freely, i.e. to export goods through the port of New Orleans. This is a huge issue for the United States. Right? Jefferson puts it this way. There is on the globe one single spot, the possessor of which is our natural and habitual enemy, New Orleans, through which the produce of 3/8 of our territory must pass to market. So if you remember last Wednesday, what I talked about is how we need to think about the relationship of the United States to the rest of the world at the beginning of the 19th century as being maritime, as being characterized by shipping rather than any other form of transportation. And so what Jefferson is saying is that the whole middle of the United States, 3/8 of our territory, depends upon goods that are going to be shipped down the Mississippi and out of New Orleans in order to get to market, even if they're going to market in Philadelphia or to New York or still more to Liverpool. Right? The Mississippi is the central artery of American trade. In 1800, Spain controls New Orleans. In 1802, Spain revokes United States trading privileges through New Orleans. They set up a customs house. They say everything that you try to ship out of the interior of the United States, even if you are shipping it to New York or to Philadelphia, you need to pay duty on. You need to pay us money. You need to pay us taxes on it. Right? So in 1802, all of a sudden there is a huge bottleneck at the mouth of the Mississippi. Jefferson panics. Everybody panics. Right? And it's on that occasion that Jefferson says this memorable, important thing about the controller of New Orleans being the habitual and natural enemy of the United States. At the same time, in 1802, there are rumors that Spain is getting ready to retrocede to give back the Louisiana Territory to France. So in 1802, there's a crisis. There's a global imperial crisis for the United States. And that crisis takes the form of Spanish control in New Orleans and Louisiana Territory, and a set of rumors that Spain is getting ready to give the Louisiana Territory back to France. Okay? And we're going to just, like that drama, I know that the result of that is killing you guys, the suspense. But we're going to have to hold on to that for a minute. We're going to talk very, very briefly about Great Britain. Okay, Great Britain is, and I'm going to talk about this more over the rest of the course. But the point that I'm going to make for now simply is that when we think about North America in 1800, we need to think about a place that could have been French, it could have been Spanish, it could have been British, it could have been Choctaw, Cherokee, Chickasaw, it could have been Bambara or Congolese. So I want to introduce this notion of possibility. Right? Britain in 1800 controls Canada, controls the British West Indies, is the greatest naval and commercial power in the world. Okay? So Britain is a significant, an enduring threat to United States sovereignty in North America. And what we're going to see through the period after Jefferson, through the period of Andrew Jackson, is basically a U.S. foreign and domestic policy which is obsessed with the possibility of a British takeover of North America. But we're going to hold that off for right now and talk about France. France has a Western empire which is centered in Haiti. Right? And when I say centered in Haiti, you have to imagine Haiti as the center of the world. Okay? You have to imagine this projection of the map. Haiti is, at this stage in history, as of 1790, Haiti is the richest colony in the world. Haiti is the Saudi Arabia of the late 18th century, the Pearl of the Antilles. As the historian C.L.R. James put it, on no portion of the surface of the globe did its surface in proportion to its dimension yield so much wealth as in the colony of Saint-Domingue. Okay, Saint-Domingue is the French name for Haiti. In Saint-Domingue in 1790, there was a population of about 500,000 people. Okay? 40,000 whites, 28,000 free people of color, 450,000 enslaved people. So you have a radically unequal pyramidal social structure which is producing enough wealth at that time to support the livelihoods of 6 million Frenchmen. The richest colony in the world producing sugar. Sugar is produced with blood. Okay? Sugar production is in the dark history of New World slavery, sugar is the most murderous crop. When sugar cane is cut, which is basically this time of year, okay, this time of year in Haiti, or in Louisiana, or in Jamaica, in order to preserve the cane juice, the cane has to come out of the field as it is cut. And so sugar production involves, in the regime of New World slavery, 16 to 18-hour working days at the end of the summer in a tropical climate. The average life expectancy for a person who alights in the New World and is put to work producing sugar is 7 years from the moment that they land in the New World. the average life expectancy is 7 years. The sugar-producing societies of the New World have negative population growth among the enslaved population. They are commercially reproduced societies. The only way that the laboring class stays the same side is through importation of people from Africa. And Haiti is the worst, the most notorious, the most brutal of all, and the richest. And Haiti is the site of the most democratic revolution in the history of the world, beginning in 1791. The site of a revolution which created political rights not simply for this huge class of formerly enslaved people, but also created recognized political rights for women and for children in the Haitian Constitution of 1805. So out of the era of revolution in the Atlantic world, the French Revolution, the American Revolution, and the Haitian Revolution, as well as the Latin American revolutions, the Haitian Revolution stands out as the most democratic. It begins in 1791. This is all in C.L.R. James' unbelievable book, the best history book ever written, which is entitled The Black Jacobins. Okay? So if you're gonna like read one thing in the rest of your career at Harvard, read The Black Jacobins. The revolution begins in 1791 with a political split between free people of color and whites in Haiti. So between these two relatively small factions of the ruling class. And that's basically a split over whether or not political rule in Haiti is going to be racially bounded. Right? Are free people of color going to be allowed political rights? But very quickly, that political split turns into a slave revolt. And at the head of that revolt, in its early years, is Toussaint Louverture. Okay? Toussaint Louverture abolishes slavery in Haiti in 1794. And the colony becomes independent from France in 1804. Now, the Haitian Revolution, the history of the Haitian Revolution hangs over the material that we're going to talk about in this class. Okay, Henry Adams, the late 19th century historian, says that there is no foreign figure who has a greater impact on the history of the United States than Toussaint Louverture. Okay? And so I'm going to suggest a couple of the ways that that is true, and then we are going to specify and elaborate those as we go on. First of all, Toussaint Louverture becomes a touchstone in the history of black revolt in the modern world. An example of what an aspiration. So in Gabriel's revolt around Richmond, Virginia in 1800, slaves, as they debate rising up, talk about the Haitian Revolution, are inspired by the Haitian Revolution. So you have to imagine an Atlantic grapevine of information, where information about Haiti circulates through sailors, through free black people, through port cities, and inspires enslaved African and African American people throughout the diaspora. Haiti shows up as an imagined site of escape and alliance in Denmark Vesey's revolt in Charleston, South Carolina in 1821. So Haiti becomes a touchstone for the radical politics of the African diaspora. Okay? Haiti also becomes a counter case. It becomes a center of a switchboard. Haiti becomes a switchboard for debates about the future of slavery in the United States of America. For opponents of slavery, it's clear enough, right? If you want to avoid another Haiti, get rid of slavery. If there is no slavery, there will be no slave revolts. Right? So Haiti becomes a touchstone for anti-slavery arguments. The dominant image of Haiti in the United States, however, is the extreme pro-slavery argument. Haiti becomes, is there a word that is like touchstone so I don't have to say that again? Haiti becomes a resource for those who want to argue against emancipation. In the aftermath of the Haitian Revolution, proponents of slavery identify emancipation with race war. The idea is that if, and Jefferson is among these, if enslaved people are emancipated, their resentment will be so great that the next step, will be race war. This is George Fitzhugh writing later in the 19th century. The fruits of freedom on that island since its independence in 1804, so he sees this as a sort of a natural, what economists call a natural experiment. This is what freedom looks like, says Fitzhugh. The fruits of freedom on that island since its independence in 1804 are revolutions, massacres, misrule, insecurity, irreligion, immortality, indolence, and the neglect of agriculture. Okay? Not producing enough sugar. Or this. They have already crushed all the fair fruits of European culture, and in a few years will convert these beautiful plantations into African wilderness. Right? So there's a vision of racial degeneration that is commercial. Right? What race war means is turning plantations into wilderness. Now, those are the ways that the specter of revolution, of the greatest and most successful slave revolt in the history of the world, hangs over the 19th century. But what I want to talk about very concretely and quickly now is the way that it disrupts Napoleon's imperial vision. For Napoleon, as I said, Haiti is the center of the world. France controls the richest colony in the world. The problem with Haiti is that there are 450,000 enslaved people who spend their every waking hour producing sugar. That sugar is sent to Europe. If you think in terms of the material human metabolic relationship between Haiti and Europe, what that means is that Haiti is exporting a huge number of calories to sustain human life in Europe. At the very same time that Haitian slaves are working too hard to provide for themselves. Right? In Napoleon's vision, the Louisiana Territory is the solution to this problem. In Napoleon's vision, this is a vast agricultural reservoir which can produce food that will be shipped down the Mississippi Valley to sustain the enslaved population of Haiti. Right? So there's a global vision of the relationship of agriculture, of foodstuffs, to staple crops, to trade. Once Haiti becomes independent, or once it is clear that Haiti will be independent, the Louisiana Territory is no longer integral to the French Empire. So Jefferson in 1803 sends a delegation to France saying, listen, we've heard that Spain is going to give you back New Orleans, and we want to make sure that we have the right to trade through New Orleans. Can we make a deal? So he sends his delegation to France, and they say, do you want to buy the whole continent? Look, while you're at it, how about if I sell you 800 million acres? Right? That delegation says, yeah. Right? That is the way in which the Haitian Revolution directly creates the condition of possibility for the Louisiana Purchase, for the imperial expansion of the United States of America, and for, we will see, the re-intensification of slavery within the United States. Okay? Now we have 5 minutes left for the second half of the lecture. So, the Louisiana Purchase immediately presents Jefferson with an unforeseen problem. And that problem is how to manage the population of the United States in relationship to all of this new territory. Right? So we see that there is both a notion of expansion as creating the possibility for white liberty, and a fear that over-expansion will lead to separatism, towards white separatism within North America. So Jefferson's first vision is to use the Louisiana Territory as a receptacle for ethnic cleansing. His first vision is to try to confine white settlement to the eastern side of the Mississippi River and remove Native Americans to the west of the Mississippi River. Properly disposed of, Louisiana could become the means of tempting all our Indians on the east side of the Mississippi Valley to remove to the west, and condensing instead our scattered population. Okay, so there's a continental vision of racial governance. Right? We're going to move all the Native Americans to the west of the Mississippi. That way the white population won't get too spread out. But it will be suitably spread out that it can be a yeoman's republic. Okay, so there's race, space, national vision of governance. Right? Jefferson's second idea is that the spread of slavery into the Louisiana Territory, the spread of slavery into the Mississippi Valley will create the condition of possibility for the end of slavery in the United States. So by 1803 already, Jefferson has a fear of the potentially rebellious enslaved population of the United States. And his idea is that by expanding the size of the United States, that population can be spread out so thinly that it will no longer pose a threat of rebellion, that Haiti will not happen in the United States. That is a vision. Jefferson's vision is one that is predicated upon a misunderstanding of the rate of African American reproduction in the United States. Right? He imagines that the rate of African American reproduction is like elsewhere in the New World, that this population will just disappear if diffused. So it is at its heart a racial, sexual vision of the future. It is one that turns out to be absolutely fallacious. Right? So what happens in the Mississippi Valley, just to give you a preview, is forecast by one opponent of the spread of slavery into the Louisiana Territory. Louisiana, he argued, is to be a field of blood before it is a cultivated field, and indeed a field of blood while it is cultivated. And what he means by that is that the Louisiana Purchase will be the site, first of all, of the expropriation of Native American land, secondly, of the application of African and African American labor. Right? Jefferson saw it differently. There is no system of government so admirably suited for the extension of empire as our own. So for Jefferson, that racial governmentality is to produce a harvest of white liberty. Right? This is the place where the empire of liberty will grow. I will see you next week.